So I'm going to be demoing an AWS-specific tool called OpsWorks, which is built on Chef, and it's intended for orchestrated deployment of clusters of applications. It's a pretty neat tool. This is what is called a stack, which is intended to contain all of your instance and application configuration. Built in, they have all of these layers of functionality. You can see here they have a Rails app server, a static web server, a PHP app server, a Node.js app server, a Java app server, something called AWS Flow, which is some custom Amazon Ruby app server. But they don't have Python. There's no Python. So I built a Python thing for it, which is one of these custom apps. The built-in app servers have some nice little configuration UIs when you're using a custom one. You have to use JSON to configure your app. So there's a little bit of JSON config here that is configuration for my build-out. My build-out is set up here in the apps section. This points to a build-out here. This is a public build-out that I'm using that's sort of structured in a way that allows automated configuration through this tool. This is just a basic Plone 5 latest build-out. And so once you've defined your app, your stack, your layers, which actually all gets done automatically through a tool. If you read the documentation for this tool, it's up on training.plone.org. You can create this stack that's set up to run Plone in a scalable, orchestrated way with multiple servers. So you create instances. I've created a couple here. They are not currently running. When I start them, it will run Chef scripts that run build out and do all of the magic stuff. You create an instance by clicking this button, giving it a name, giving it an instance size. That creates sort of a configuration to define an instance. Doesn't actually create any Amazon resources that cost you any money until you click this start button. And so what I have here, I have a bunch of layers of functionality. HAProxy is kind of a misnomer. It runs HAProxy. That's a built-in layer in OpsWorks. It does load balancing. But it also ends up running, because of some customizations, Nginx, Varnish, HAProxy behind it. That HAProxy will discover all of your application servers, which are defined in this layer, automatically add them, load balance them. We also have a ZO server layer. So you add one instance to the ZO server. That could be an instance that's in a bunch of other layers. It could be an instance that just runs a ZO server. So you can have these layers spread across multiple machines, or have one machine, say in a staging cluster, running all the layers. Right now it's just created an EC2 instance and just booting it up, and I'm gonna boot up a second one too. Just like Steve, I cheated and got the caches warmed up, made sure the apt updates are in there so that we're not waiting. 20 minutes is about what it takes to start one of these from scratch. If you don't have an egg cache stored on S3 to pull down, if you're just, instantiating a new Ubuntu running apt-get update, downloading the build-out, what this does is clones your build-out repository, runs the build out, does all that stuff, and then when you're done, you end up with a nice load balance cluster of servers. Once your server's up, you can at any time click this magical deploy an app button, pick which instances you want to deploy to. It will check out a new clone of your build out, compare it to the prior copy of the build out. If it's changed, it will run Bootstrap, run build out. If it all works, it will symlink it in, call it current, take the old one, leave it aside so you can roll it back, and then restart your instances with a delay between them, so you have a kind of rolling restart. It'll do it across as many instances as you want within a single cluster. You can, once you've defined a stack, you can clone that stack. Say if you've got a staging stack, you want to turn it into your production stack or whatever, you can move your stack from one region to another. If you want one that's in Asia instead of in Europe, or instead of in Oregon or Virginia. Anyway, these are running right now. Running setup generally means build out. And with that, I will let the next person go, and maybe I'll circle back around once these are up and running.
Cool. By the way, mine's finished. Thanks, sir. It didn't happen. Oh!
That's finished.
Ah, nice.
Like the
Let's see.
change.
Let's see.
There it is.
Plone site. I will create the plone site. It doesn't do that for you. Why would it do that? That would be ridiculous.
Gotta exercise that now.
Does it run backups and geopacking?
It runs geopacking. It does automatic nightly snapshots on AWS if your EPS works. So.
I already had a talk on this morning, but how do you run Docker with Plone with Docker? Like this, and it's official, as you can see. So it's called Plone, so it's in the official Docker images repository. You can add add-ons. Yeah, let's give it, because it was 7 months process of accepting our image in the official repository. You can test add-ons via environment variables. You can also run the server from this container, and then this is how you run the clients. And then we use Rancher to deploy our stacks over multiple hosts. So this is how you run Rancher server. You can also add certificates and map port 443 via -p option. So here is my Here is my Rancher setup. I will add some hosts. Let's say Packet. This is a Packet cloud provider. Let's see. I have an API key here somewhere. And I can say that I want 5, for example. Ubuntu type 1, and this is in Paris, and I can add some labels to say that these machines are for Plone. You can do the same on DigitalOcean, on Azure, on Amazon, and you can also add custom. I mean, you can register your host by running this command on your machine. So I already have some hosts here. So now I also did a pull request last week to the Rancher catalog to add the Plone stack in their catalog. This is not the official catalog, but it will be there soon. You can also add catalogs from GitHub, as many as you want, and then from this catalog you can see that you can run varnish whatever, and it's also Plone, which you can deploy Plone 5 or 4. You can say on which port to run the front end, let's say 80. Also you can add Plone add-ons, but don't do it from here, because this will trigger the build out rerun inside the container. So you should build your images before putting them on production. I can say where to deploy these Plone sites, and I can scale it to, I don't know, 6. And I can say this one I used it before, so let's not conflict. And the volume driver can be also NFS or something else, but for now let's use local. And if I launch, here is my stack, Plone stack, Zio server is initializing. Okay, these images are, yeah, so here is Zio server, and then my Plone instances are popping in. Let's see, they are initializing. We can see from here the logs. Delete this one. And the load balancer started. So here is my Plone site. That's it. Thank you.
Did Calvin make it into the room?
I'm here.
Okay.
Sort of there.
Sort of there?
Yeah, I don't know. Something's going wrong. I'll give you guys the overview quickly and show it off. I don't know if I'll actually be able to launch anything, unfortunately. All right, so at 6 feet up, we do a lot of work with salt and FreeBSD. So actually what I wanted to show you guys, maybe. Let's try one more time. No, they said you had one presentation today and that's it. That's all you. Let me try the display port.
Yeah, the display port's the one that's not working.
Okay. I think that's what the video is hooked up to too, is the. Oh, because it's not the HDMI one. Gotcha. My bad. Old school VGA here. Hey, ooh. Ooh.
I kind of like the yellow.
Yeah. Yuck. Okay. Oh my goodness. This is gonna be it's gonna be really interesting. All right, so we use FreeBSD at 6 feet up. This is hold on, no, this is not gonna work. No, this is not gonna work. I don't know what's going on there, but that's just not gonna work. Projector.
I went straight to that resolution too.
Oh, so to nasty.
Yeah, you can up the resolution too.
That looks like it.
That's what I used earlier. Was that?
Yeah. Let's push this button too, because, you know.
Oh, there we go. Okay, whoa, way better. Okay. Thank goodness. Okay, I'll make this bigger so you guys can see it. Yeah, so as I was saying, we use Salt, so Salt Stack and FreeBSD. So I wanted to show you guys really quickly was actually creating a jail, basically what's a FreeBSD container in real time, and then actually having Salt Stack configure the jail, put our SSH keys out there, put all the dependencies out there, and we can make it all go. So I'm going to kick off the process, and then I will show it to you as we go, like how it works behind the scenes. So. I give it an IP address using EasyJail admin to create jails. Let's call this Plone conf 5. So what it actually does is it creates, you'll see that -f 6 feet up, which is a flavor, and I'll show you what that is in just a moment. Start conf 5. So it's starting up the jail, and actually at the same time it's starting up the jail, it's actually installing Salt as the jail starts up. So I didn't have to do anything to have it start that up. What does this? Excuse me. If we go into user jails flavors, they have what are called flavors, and we have made a 6 feet up flavor for it. And if we go into Etsy rc.d, you'll see a 6 feet up setup. I don't need to edit it twice. And basically what happens is on first boot of the jail, it runs this script, which it doesn't do too much other than run this one script one time, and then it removes itself after it runs, and all it does is install salt. So that's the bootstrapping process right there. Okay, the jail is started up, so we can actually console into it. And we will start the salt minion, because for some reason I didn't put it in the script. I guess I could have, but it doesn't start the salt minion automatically for us. Service, salt, minion, start. Oops, I misspelled it.
Misspelled again.
But it ran anyway. That's what
Oh, weird.
No, it was spelled correctly. It looks like it. How did it?
Video effect.
Yeah, you had me tricked too. I was like, like what's going on? So now on our salt master, that's the terminal up there in the corner. We can see any unaccepted minions. So once that starts, it should register with the salt server, and it's gonna be like, I don't know who you are. So we just accept that key into our minion. And at this point, I can now say, yep, I want it to be part of my infrastructure. So now that's been accepted into our master. So salt's like a master minion type setup. One master, you could have actually multi-master, but we have one master that tracks all of our minions and can control them and do whatever we need to do to them. So now I can actually do operations against it. So Plone conf 5. Like for example, I can ping it to see if it's alive and doing things it's supposed to do. What we typically do is we set up a variable on machines. They're called grains. And in this case, we'll set a node type of Plone. And I'll show you the states that actually takes this into consideration. Now that we've got a node type set of Plone, we can actually high state the box, which is basically the equivalent of saying, take all the information you know about what you're supposed to be and become that thing, which is install the people, the users, the keys, and all that stuff. So behind the scenes, if we go over here and actually look at the box, you'll see that it's installing ZSH package. It's installing, it'll kind of run through here and keep talking to it, but you'll see it install, it's installing the Python pip packages in August and all this stuff. So that's happening from the master told the minion, go make yourself a real server, become a real man. We're going to go here. Let me show you this. Whoops. These are the salt states. So this is the thing that actually we're running against the servers right now. Well, as soon as there we go. And this is like all of our states that our master's aware of. So depending, it all starts here at the top file. So salt reads this top file in, and then it matches based on the glob that you see right there. Let me make this bigger so you guys can see it. This star.6 feet up. So every machine in our infrastructure will automatically get these states applied to it. So all the 6 feet up users, all the base stuff, which is like all of my little Vim and all the tools I use, gets send mail disabled, postfix installed, the monitoring client installed, LDAP stuff installed, anything we normally would use. Now down here is the real magic. You can set up a node type, and actually the name can be arbitrary. As long as there's a state name that matches up to that node type you put in there, it's going to actually run that match against your infrastructure. So I set node type equal to Plone, and if you come over here, I've got a Plone state right here. And what this does is put in all the Plone dependencies. So it installs virtual envs, the various dependencies for file manipulation. It installs supervisor with a Plone configuration, all ready to go to start up supervisor. It does some other things. If, like for example, in FreeBSD, one of the dependencies for Plone is looking for free type in a certain location. We fix it for it. We use this map to make sure that our states are cross-platform. So you can see here we define a fallback default, and if it's a Red Hat style box, it does this. If it's a Debian style box, it does that. If it's a FreeBSD box, it does that. So that's how we actually can run this across Ubuntu, CentOS, FreeBSD. Like Steve said, as long as you're a Red Hat or a Debian-based machine, we're good. OpenSUSE people, that you've made that bed, and you get to lie in it. Yeah. So then here's like a templated sample supervisor configuration file that we will throw on the machines for it as all part of this. And hello, So that's basically the thing that builds up the state of the machine. Now if we go back over here to our stuff. Okay, it's still high stating. It looks like it's upset. Okay, it's setting up postfix right now. This will take a few minutes as it runs through. I mean, I'm doing everything from scratch here. So this is basically building up a whole machine from scratch. As part of this process, this is a jail I'm running it on right now, but I can also do this on virtual machines. I do this in our AWS cloud. So it's as cross-platform as possible. So we manage machines in customer data centers, AWS, Rackspace, DigitalOcean, we have our own data center. I have a cage with physical machines sitting in it, only because we've been around that long. Like, I think if I hadn't been around that long, I wouldn't do it. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Salt too, and I think a lot of people now compare it to Ansible. And I just want to add to your presentation that Salt does way more than this simply configuring.
Oh yeah.
It's about like deployment, but the cool thing is written in Python, and you can use Salt to trigger actions like
right.
reactor system. And this is a killer feature.
We use reactors. So actually, when I make changes locally, we check all of our salt states into a Git repository. The Git repository actually triggers a reactor in Salt to do basically an update or a pull of the latest changes out of the Git repository automatically. So that's how we push and maintain changes, all stored in Git and versioned really nicely. I'm still installing postfix. That's going to take a while. So after this rolls through, I guess I can let the next person come back up. But basically, I'm ready at that point to run build out. But that's how we get all our machines to the exact same state across our infrastructure. Yeah, Salt's amazing. I mean, the only similarities I see between Ansible is the fact that it's Python and uses a YAML. But beyond that, they start diverging pretty quickly. The remote execution environment, I'm showing you only a small fraction of the possible things it can do from the command line. But Salt actually has a lot of powerful features to basically query your whole environment. Ask for versions of things. That grains environment basically allows you to store metadata about the machine. So if it's on AWS, you can actually store in there maybe what the instance type is and maybe what data center region it's in, and then actually query and get groupings of machines based on certain grains. So you want all the machines in this region, you can get them really quickly.
One more thing which is cool where Salt and Ansible completely diverge is that once you run out of capabilities with YAML and you need more complex logic, you can write states in Python.
Yeah.
So I write a lot of reactors and states in actual Python. So I don't need to learn a new language like in Chef or remember which module calls that and that. I
right.
work with normal IDE like JetBrains, and it does this analyzing and it tells me what's there available for me.
Yeah, like I said, I've been a big fan of Salt. It's worked well for us. We have been using it since 0.12, which is, it's probably been 4 years we've been using Salt.
Yeah, I just want to add, just 2 days ago, we redeployed our entire infrastructure from Ansible to Salt, and deployment sped up by 2x.
Right, because it uses behind the scenes. This is using 0MQ to talk to all the various nodes that are on the things. We're not SSHing to every machine, kind of the Ansible style.
What do you use the queue?
Yeah. Now, Salt does have a mode that can use SSH as a transport, so it's kind of got alternate transports that you can use. So depending on whether you got firewall or whatever kind of restrictions, and you can also run it minionless. When you can run minionless, you can also run masterless. So actually, if you wanted to, on a per machine basis, clone your states down to it and run them without a master, you can. You're not required to actually set up the whole master and minion infrastructure to run the states. Now, that's actually what we do with Vagrant locally. So if we're using a Vagrant box, we run a masterless minion in the Vagrant instance to basically test our states before we deploy them out to production. Any other questions about Salt and deployment? It's still rolling. I don't know why Postfix is not happy, but
That's the only Salt that doesn't run high blood pressure.
yeah. Yeah, it's still rolling through there. I'll let it roll, and if it comes back up, I'll give you guys a demo of the Plone site, part of it.
Are there other people in the audience who are using interesting, funny, cool stuff, or just who want to show what they're using? I don't know. Is there some, for example, is there someone who's using Heroku and want to show the one-click Heroku thingy, or I don't know, something else? Volunteers? Hmm? No, no. Show it.
Now comes the fastest of all.
Well, I didn't sign up for this.
No one.
Nobody said it's
Sad.
No, because this is not really deployment. This is really just getting a sandbox up. And you probably, if you went to the training, you saw it already. I need to close some of these WhatsApp and Hangouts. The last time I did a presentation, something popped up, and it was my mother telling me I need to put talcum powder between my legs. Not really the best thing to be showing on the screen. You know? Thank you, Mommy.
That's really very sweet.
She loves you.
Yeah, no, I don't have any doubt about that. Right. Oh, we're going to have the AV thing. Okay. So about 2014, Nate Zupan, who presented earlier today, discovered that you could, with a little bit of fancy footwork, you can get Heroku, Plone running on Heroku. To date, nobody has really taken it. Well, he says he does run a few things. That's right, Nate. He actually runs stuff on Heroku. But so far, I don't know a lot of people who are using it for production. But at least you can do it. So you just click deploy, and then you give it a name, like some name, and then at the bottom you click deploy, and then what happens is it starts to build a Plone site for you. What's nice about this system is it's gotten to a point where we now have a build pack for Heroku, and then you can customize it. So for example, I have a project called Plaything, which is, it's named after the Plone band. They have a song called Plaything. And I can deploy Plaything, which is like a little customized distribution, just so you can play around with it, my Plaything. And from this version, I've customized it further. So I can give my site a site name, something like my site name. And it doesn't even use a default password. I can set the password, hard password, and deploy. And it will go out and deploy it. This one is a little dated. It's not the latest version of Plone 5. In the meantime, this one here has almost finished building. This version was for training, so it installs Plone App Mosaic, and it installs Rapido, and yeah, I think those are the key things that it installs. For mine is much more opinionated. So, for example, instead of calling things news items, it just calls them a post. And it installs a custom Diazo theme and things like that. Yeah. So let's see if this one is finished. So in the meantime, what's happening here is that we have a cache. So instead of compiling every single package for the build out, that cache is pulled down. And I actually learned this technique back in the days of .cloud, before Docker became Docker. And with .cloud, I discovered that if you built a cache, then you could download this tarball, and it would save you a lot of compiling. And that technique has been introduced in other spaces as well. I think this is just, I can close this window. Right, so that's my plaything installed in there. The other thing that's nice with plaything is that I borrowed some ideas from the Ansible approach, where there's a custom script that maps the root of your site to your Plone instance. So it means that when Plaything deploys, it installs a Plone instance, and then it maps it to the root of whatever your URL is. So for an end user, they don't even think about Zope or clicking a button to say deploy Plone or anything. And it's not at / site name, it's just at the root of your site. It uses environment variables to figure that out, which are set up here. It was lots of fun to figure it out. Let's see if this one is finished. Not quite yet. But again, unfortunately, I don't recommend this for production. This is free, that's great. So it's great for sandboxes and training. If I haven't done the experiment of paying for it. I know for $9 you get more, and if you spend a little more, you get more. But maybe I'll interrogate Nate a little more and figure if it's actually worth doing this in production. Okay, so now that it's finished, what it does is it compresses everything into, I don't even remember what it's called right now, but it does, and then launches your Plone site. And let's see if Plaything is done. Right, so this one is also compressing and launching, and then it will eventually launch the Plone site. I also did that to buy some time, because it has to, after it's launched, it takes a little while. Okay, this one is launching as well. So with Plaything, you see a little difference from the training sandbox. This is the training sandbox. And what was my password? Hard password? Okay, good. Good thing I chose a hard password. Right, so that's one Plone site up. That's for training. And then this one, I don't even have to create the Plone site, because it's done all of that for you, and it's done the little virtual host monster stuff, script and everything. So I should just be going straight to a working Plone site. Again, if I can validate that this is good for production, the next step is to figure out whether it's worth spending Heroku prices for this, or whether there should be a way to move your sandbox to DigitalOcean when you want to do cheap hosting or something. But yeah, that's it. That works. Unfortunately, this one is taking a little while to warm up. Oh wait, did that just come up?
I've seen that design before.
Yeah, what I like with the Plaything deployment is that it even takes advantage of HTTPS, because it has a script that ensures that you're serving your stuff over HTTPS. So I can envision a scenario where the perfect deployment script would also hook up to Let's Encrypt and generate free SSL certs, and then, yeah. Is that Plaything? No. Maybe it won't. Maybe it's decided it doesn't want to work today. Yeah, it's just a plaything anyway, right? Oh, right. Okay, this is not what it's supposed to do. Oh yeah, but at least it created the Plone site. I think that was the thing. But maybe I misremembered about the mapping to the root of the site. Maybe that's my plan, the next step. But yes, this is an opinionated site. It's really like a little blog platform, so people can log in as admin with hard password. Right. Yeah. So if you want a blog system, you could look at Plaything. It does have a lot of the things that you need for blogging out of the box. You notice, well, this is not about that now, but anyway, yeah.
All right. Any last words? Also, we had a license that was
Yes.
on for the competition here. Being that it's not a competition, it's kind of hard to decide how we should decide what to do with that license. What's that? A fight to the death? the deployment stage match or something like that.
Sven organized this.
Sven organized it. Do you get to tag somebody?
I'm not organizing it. I got told into it.
Yeah, of course you got told into it. That's okay. I got told into doing this thing, so hey.
He's the only one who actually prepared to compete. I think he should actually win.
You think he should win? All right. We'll do it this way. All the contestants, stand up here. Each of you come up here and stand next to Sven.
No.
No. Stand
I
next
did
to
nothing,
Sven.
so
Yeah, but you were entertaining, so stand right there.
Rock, paper, scissors.
All right. I'm going to point at them, and I want you to cheer as loud as you can for the one that you liked the best, the one that you found the most entertaining, or the one that you found the most ridiculous. It really doesn't matter. Whoever gets the loudest cheering by, let's see here, Anthony, man, you're going to be the one who gets to choose which one is the loudest cheering.
I could be biased.
You could be, oh shit, that's right. You actually work for somebody, don't you? Okay, never mind, Stefan. You're going to be the one who tells us which one is the loudest, okay? So for Sven. All right, how about for Steve? Okay, let's hear it for Alan. That oxygen is killer. For Calvin. For Alec. And for David Bain. David? All right, David. The license is yours. You win. Thank you all for attending the Plone Deployment Showdown.
Okay, next year we will have a real showdown, I promise.
That's right.
Arbitrary.